I'm Pete.
I'm Granger.
And this is your one-stop shop for being in a band.
Oh, being in a band. It's band topics. We do band topics on Tuesdays, and then we do interviews and juicy underground gig stories on Fridays with Band For Life. But recently, we've been running a little mini-series on starting a band, how to find your band members for a band, why you should start a band. And this week's episode on this little mini-series, continuing on that theme, is how to get a gig, which is an incredibly important part of being in a band. If you're in a band, of course you want a gig. It's like Christmas Day. That's like what you do it for.
It's Gigmas.
It's Gigmas.
That's what we call it. We call it Gigmas.
We used to say Merry Gigmas Eve. Do you remember that?
Gigmas Day.
Merry Gig, and I used to say Merry Gigmas Eve's Eve.
Mm-hmm.
Loser.
Oh, I used to be so excited the night before a gig. I still do get a bit excited the night before.
It's a buzz. It's still a buzz. It will be after COVID finishes. But I've been to a gig in ages. Yeah, let alone played a gig.
Oh my god, I'm so looking forward to that.
I know.
Anyway,
this
is some reasons. Some reasons. No, this is some steps. 6 steps.
6 steps.
6 steps to getting your first gig.
Step 1. Black screen. Step 1.
You need a gig rehearsal.
Do need a gig rehearsal.
This is a massive one for me. So, picture this. Your average rehearsal space, you all stand in a circle, so you can all make eye contact, you can all look at each other, and you can all see what each other's doing. You can communicate whilst you're playing, right? That's brilliant. That's an amazing way to rehearse. Wonderful. Okay? Mm-hmm. That falls to shit when you're on a gig stage.
Yeah.
Gig stage? A stage.
Stage.
And you're all stood in a line, and all your back line is in the line behind or next to the drum kit. You need to set up your rehearsal studio like a gig. So put your amps next to the drum kit or behind the drum kit. Or even sometimes in front of the drum kit. Depends on how small a stage you've got to work on.
Yeah, honestly. It's true.
And then you need to all face an audience. So you're not always going to end up with monitors, especially at small time gigs. So you need to learn to work with what you've got. So you need to have your level set right. You need to get out in front of yourself and see if you can hear everything and really, really try and critically think about it. If a guitar's too high, you need to tell the other guitarist to turn down, or if yours is too high, you need to have the balls to actually go and turn it down. It's not an ego thing. You sound shit if one is stupid loud.
Yeah, I agree. And also, this might seem like a lot to take in. You might be thinking, what? We've been practicing for ages now. We've all been facing each other. What's the problem? It's not such a big thing. And it's not about us kind of like trying to bombard you with information. It's just that this is something that we learned till a bit later on, because you find that when you're in a rehearsal space, you're all looking at each other. Sometimes you don't even realize it, but you've got visual cues.
Mm-hmm.
You've got visual cues. The drummer looks at you, the drummer looks at there, and then you've got the guitarist and the singer, and you all know when you're ready. Sometimes when you do a gig and you don't have those visual cues, you'll notice bands that kind of sometimes they kind of like look around,
and looking at each other like kind of lost sheep.
And that's okay sometimes, for your first couple of gigs or as you're starting out and stuff like. And even now, like I'll sometimes look at other band members, but normally to rock out now more than anything. But yeah, if you practice this, you will get better at not needing those visual cues, and it'll seem so much more seamless, and you will come across as so much more polished and professional, because they're gonna be like, shit, this band know what they're doing. They know how to handle the stage. Because they've practiced it. You've practiced doing it, being on the stage, facing that way. Because if you don't have monitors, and just for our people who completely don't know what we're talking about, monitors are the speakers on the floor at gigs that project.
They face you
to the musicians. Yeah. So like when you say you might want more guitar so you can hear your own guitar, it's not about turning your guitar up till you can hear it. That's the wrong way to do it, because your guitar amp might be down there and you can't hear it because it's not facing you. But if it's mic'd up and you're turning it up, The poor sound engineer might be like flying the fader down because the guitar's suddenly getting so loud that the speakers are starting to pop and all sorts of feedback's starting to
Or
come on.
because you're so ridiculously loud in the mix.
Exactly. It just doesn't sound good.
It's
So
not a one for all.
no.
Or it's a team sport. This if one member lets you down, the whole band looks bad.
Yeah, exactly. So gig rehearsals are very, very important. If you do come across gigs without monitors, and you will, especially in pubs, this will put you in good standing for that, because even if you can't hear certain bits, you've practiced it. You know to listen for the drummer, you know to listen for the,
Yeah.
we've done a lot of gigs where in particular you can't hear the vocals. That's an in particular thing. Or you can't hear the other guitarist or the other bassist.
Yeah. That's a
Or the
big thing for me.
Yeah, if drummers don't have a monitor, they sometimes can't hear the bass guitar, which they often go off, and they just are listening out for other things.
It
So
sounds
yes,
it sounds ridiculous, doesn't it, when you say to someone who's not a musician or someone who hasn't gigged, when you say you can't hear what's going on stage, but if the mix is wrong and you've not got monitors, sometimes you literally cannot hear what's going on.
You
Like
really
you can
can't.
only hear your own. Either you can only hear you, just because of, not necessarily because you're too loud, but just because of the way all the amps are facing, whatever, or there's things in the way, or there's times when you can't hear you, when actually out front you're perfectly fine. You need to learn to kind of deal with that and just roll with it and still put on a great show. So a gig rehearsal is a great way to do that. Just try and set up as if it's a gig, put your amps in a line, everyone standing in line facing the front. We have even done it in the past where like you've practiced like what to say to the crowd and things, and like properly like had banter with the wall,
I
and we've
think
like
we'll
properly timed the set, which leads us onto
on to point number 2. We'll probably, just talking about that, we'll probably do an actual 15-minute feature on really delving into what gig rehearsal is and how to do it. We might get some pictures up and stuff and things of where you should be stood and things like that, or where we would recommend you be stood and things. But these are just the basic points. These are the bare bones of how to get a gig, and the things that are going to set you up well for it in the future. So point 2, Pete.
point 2. You need, if you're an originals band, you need a minimum of a 30-minute set.
Pretty quick point, this.
You need to have had that timed. You need to have it down to a T. If you go over your 30 minutes, bands are going to hate you afterwards, because it means that they're going to get cut short, especially if there's a strict curfew. If you go under your 30 minutes, it's normally not so bad, but it doesn't look good to promoters and things who want you on 30-minute set.
I've always preferred it less if I was when I used to promote.
It's
like
better
5
to go
minutes.
under, because you normally end up running late at a gig anyway, because someone won't have timed their set.
Yeah,
and when we say time your set, we don't mean just time your songs, because there's going to be bits in the middle of sets where the guitarist's got to retune, and the bassist's got to retune, or the drummer's got to have a drink because he's about to pass out.
10 3-minute songs is not a 30-minute set. 10 3-minute songs could
set.
be a 40 or even 45, because you've got gaps in between, you're chitter-chattering, you're going to have a drink of water, the drummer's going to pass out in a minute, you're talking to your mates in the crowd for 2 minutes, you didn't realise banter's been going on, and before you know it, the song hasn't even started yet. Yeah.
You need to have it down to a T. You need to have some sort of idea of where you're at on stage as well.
Yeah.
So you need to know, like, it's not always really obvious, and I still struggle with it now, like how long the set's been.
Yeah, just check your phone.
But it's better to go. It's better to go under than to go over, especially if you're like first or second on out of a few bands.
Yeah.
People are gonna hate you if you've nicked their set.
You're going to play 99% of your gigs are going to be running behind anyway. 99% of the gigs I've played, I've never run to the actual schedule.
No, but they run close to the schedule if it's a well organised gig.
Yeah, exactly.
And sound engineers will just switch you off.
Some will. Yeah, they will. Point number 3.
Be present online.
Be present online. I was so mixed up then.
There is no more powerful tool at the moment than social media. You need to be on Instagram. Twitter, I think, is kind of fading into the background now. People don't tend to bother too much with Twitter.
I don't know. I don't use it
It's
as
still
often.
big, but
That doesn't mean that it shouldn't go for it. Instagram's big. Facebook is huge. Try and get your friends to like your page.
yeah,
So we've not gone step by step here. We should have gone like set up a Facebook page.
no, I think that's obvious.
Set up a Facebook page for your band. Call it your band name. Set up an Instagram for your band. Call it your band name. Maybe even get a website if you want. You know, you can do free ones now with Wix and stuff. And then get likes. You know, get posting stuff. Get posting pictures of the band. You don't necessarily have to have a great photo shoot. We might come on to that later when you can start paying for photographers, but you can just get somebody to come and take pictures of your rehearsal studio. Take a couple of shots of you outside with your instruments. Go into the forest. Go to some cool industrial
probably
estate.
stood against the wall. That's the band go-to
Stood
picture,
against
innit?
the wall. Yeah.
Everyone stand
Put
against
them
the
up
wall.
online. Yeah. People like to see these things, and promoters and venues and stuff. They want to. We're going to get onto contacting venues, and they're going to want to see what you look like. They're going to want to see,
Well,
you know.
I've heard it said a few times from professional musicians that Instagram is the new business card. Like a flick through your Instagram is immediately your business card. If it's got videos of you playing on it, videos of you like rehearsing, pictures, stuff that you've shared, it all helps to build a picture for this promoter who's kind of putting themselves on the line a little bit if they don't know you and it is your first gig, to build up a kind of picture as to what you're going to be like, what kind of band you're going to be, what kind of following you're going to bring down, all that kind of thing. It all just helps to, so they're not just booking some randomer off the street. It kind of builds a kind of a rapport before you've even got to actually meet the guy.
Because they've got no idea. They've got no idea. You could be a 65, you know, a jazz band in the 70s, or you could be a indie band in the 20s. So it really does matter. It is like a passport into what you guys are about.
Yeah.
That's what social media is. So be present online. This leads very nicely into point number 4, which is have a press pack and some kind of music to show people.
Yeah, you need some kind of recording. I found it really difficult to get our first gig when I started doing the Oasis tribute thing, because we didn't have, well, we were trying to charge as well. This is the thing. It's slightly different when you're doing that kind of thing. But we'd be messaging pubs and venues and promoters and things saying, "Hey, put us on," and they're like, "Yeah, have you got video?" Because they want to see what they're booking beforehand. So what I used to do, we haven't done it so much recently, or well before COVID, was I used to have a OneDrive folder set up where I could just share the link, and it was full of pictures, it was full of videos, it was full of the logos, it was full of like write-ups, reviews, whatever, loads of stuff. So they had a one-stop shop. They could just click on this link, take them straight into this folder, and they could just browse through everything that they wanted to see. Some people are old school like that. Some people are going to want CDs. Some people are going to want an MP3 emailing through. It doesn't necessarily matter when you're messaging promoters if you've recorded something that's super high quality. Just a rough demo is adequate, just so they've got an idea of what you actually sound like, and so you can prove that you actually can play. There's no point in a promoter booking you for a metal night if you're an indie band.
Yeah, and remember, we're talking about the very, very starting. So the very, very starting was a band. You know, we can talk about better recordings later. We can talk about better photo shoots and better videos and music videos. But
yeah, this
for
is
now,
the start. This is the first one.
This is the very start. Don't worry about doing any of that stuff. You can record. I mean, if you can get into a cheap studio, fantastic, great if you want to do that. But, you know, you can start and you can get a gig on a phone recording. You can get a gig on a video done on an iPhone. You can get a gig even without music and a video. It can happen. It'll be a lot harder. If you've just got anything to show them, you can get a gig, okay? You can get a gig in a pub, you can get a local gig, it can happen, and then we can snowball off that. We'll tell you some other things.
Once you've got that first one, it immediately becomes easier.
Because then that venue will probably possibly book you again, or the band you've played with might say, we can come play with us we're playing this place. Sometimes it can be a referral like that, so a band might need a support band. They've had a dropout. Oh, let's ring this band We played with them 4 weeks ago at whatever pub, and they were quite good. So let's ring them. So yeah. So definitely have some music, even if it is just rough recordings on your phone or something. Most people in my experience nowadays, it's like MP3 or a download. Although you will get some old school, generally pub owners, you might want a CD or be like, yeah, drop a CD in or something.
Yeah.
It's rare, but it can happen, So
some
yeah.
people like that kind of tactile. You can hold it.
Drop a CD and then they get to meet you there, and then actually, so that's part of it. So that was point number.
I have no idea.
Right, so we are doing. That was point 4. This is point numero 5, and we've just kind of touched on it, and it is to contact local venues, other bands, local promoters, local bars, local pubs about getting your band on.
Yep. The best way I found is when I was getting the first gig for Tribute Band, we did a gig. Our first gig was at a local pub, and I gave them, I think we did it for nothing. We did it for a round of drinks, I think, just to get in. And he was like, yeah, great, fine. We can have a tribute night and I don't have to pay them. Or jump in. Chances are, if you're in a band, you'll know of somebody else in a band. You'll have friends in other bands or whatever. You can ask them if they're already established, if you can jump in on a support slot. Or there's always plenty of little promoters around the outskirts towns. There's hundreds of promoters in the cities. Pubs that do music nights and things. There's tons of people to get in on. And if you are present on social media, like we've said, they've got something to look at and something they know what they're booking.
Yeah. And from that, you'll generally get offered. You'll eventually be offered a gig if you contact enough people. It's a numbers game there. It's the start. You might be offered more than one. One thing, this is a bit of a kind of warning. Always check the terms of the gig. So most gigs, when you're starting out, you might not get paid. You might just get, like you say, a crate of beer or something, or a couple of beers, or a rider. You might get some money. They might say, we've taken so much from the bar. Try and get this information first before you do the gig. Very important, because if it is a ticketed event, you want to avoid pay-to-play gigs. That is gigs where you have to pay for a certain amount of tickets up front, or give the promoter a certain amount of money up front. On the premise that if you sell X amount of tickets, you'll make X amount back. The reason why is if you can't, it's often is unfairly wagered in the promoter's favour. So if you're doing a gig where the promoter's selling tickets for £10 a ticket and you're going to get £1 a ticket, I would personally avoid that. I would look for a much more fair share. Not to say that promoters that ask you to sell tickets are bad, because they're not. You might be given 30 tickets to sell. They might do a split, such as the promoter takes £3, you take £3, or the promoter takes £3, you take £2. To be fair, they have the venue to pay for, the sound engineers to pay for, fine. And then you can make some money on it that way. But always check the terms of that before you agree and take the gig. Very important.
And don't be afraid to turn gigs down.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Don't have people say, oh, well, it's great exposure, because I'm not being funny. You can't go into Tesco and buy your week's worth of shopping with exposure.
Yes. It's true. Sometimes the gigs, you can get gigs.
I don't mind gigging
exposure.
for free. I will gig for free all day long, as I am not the only person at that gig not being paid. Because a lot of the time, that is how it works. Your sound engineer will be getting paid, the bar staff will be getting paid, your promoter's getting paid, but the people actually doing the show and performing won't be getting paid.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to turn things like that down.
Yeah, that's true.
And the only way to stop people from taking advantage with things like that is to band together as a community and make sure this doesn't happen, because there are people who will just take the gig anyway.
Yeah, it's often it's called pay to play. We've mentioned it in other videos. It's often 30 tickets is the general, and they'll say each ticket is £5 or £6. Once you've sold your 30, everything after that you'll then earn like £2 each ticket. But if you think about it, they're actually, what they're doing there is they're saying, let's say it's £5 a ticket and you've got 30 tickets. They're basically saying you have to pay £150 for this gig before you even get anything back out of it. And if you don't sell your 30 tickets, this is some of the contracts I've read. That's why I need to check it. If you don't sell your 30 tickets, you owe the promoter for the money for those tickets. Yeah. Just be wary of that. It's not everybody. It's a fraction, but
there are people out there that will take advantage.
So,
especially if you're young, just don't be afraid to walk away.
Yeah, most promoters are fine, but just it's worth doing your due diligence. So that is point 5. We come on to our final point then. Point numero 6.
Promote the crap out of the gig.
Promote the crap out of the gig. If you have got tickets to sell them to your friends, to your family. Get up Facebook adverts, get up a Facebook events page. That's a really good one. Invite everybody to it. Invite every band member to get to them to invite all of their family members, all of their friends. Promote it. And you'll be surprised, especially if it's like your first gig or your first couple of gigs.
Your first gig, you'll probably pack it out.
You probably will pack it out. Like, it's, oh my God, it's your first gig.
Just promote it and then just enjoy the gig.
Yeah.
You'll find gig 2, 3, 4, 5 will be a bit of a letdown after gig 1.
You're going to get a gig.
People, numbers-wise, you'll get a lull after the first one. But, yeah, promote your gig. There's Facebook targeted ads. There's Instagram targeted ads. You don't have to do that, but it is an option. You know, you can pay like £3 a day for however many days you want, and it'll fire it out to a bunch of people that you specify. So you can specify your age range. You can specify the area. You can specify people who like hip hop made in 1994. You know, you can. There's a whole load of things you can do with it.
Yeah, I know we talked about this right now in a time where you're not allowed to do physical gigs right now at this particular moment as we're recording this. But these rules won't change for the future. It's the same thing. You know, sharing the gigs and all that online, telling everybody about it. Also, you can share into Facebook groups. So, you know, like your local community groups, if you're playing in, in your local hometown, there's normally buy and sell groups for your hometown, or there's like what's on in, what's on in.
Usually
share it on there.
Local magazines as well will normally do a what's on, so you can contact them and they'll put it in for free and just what's going on. Facebook groups is a great way to do it.
And then go and play.
And then enjoy it,
Enjoy your gig. Yeah. I think this has been. I know. For anybody watching this who is thinking about looking at getting their first gig soon, or is wondering about how to do it, this may seem like a lot to take in right now. Feel free to message us or comment if you have any questions about it. We'll probably dive even deeper into some of these. These are the bare bones that me and Pete are like kind of talking about. We could do entire videos on. We could probably do an hour on each of these points. And we may do some more in-depth videos if you guys request or you want that kind of thing in the future. Feel free, and we'll probably do that. So, for example, with the gig rehearsal one, we can really dive into how to do that if you want. With how to use microphones in the practice room, if you've never used a PA system, we can do videos on that. We can do videos on all sorts of things. But this has been how to get your very first gig. We hope you've enjoyed it.
Just enjoy it.
Yeah.
And that first time, you'll get bit by the bug and you won't turn back.
Yeah. You get the thrill. Shot through the heart.
I think that's all we got time for today.
Yeah, it's been a long video, guys. Thanks for sticking with us this week. If you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing. We come out with videos twice a week. Band for Life on Fridays, where we interview bands and we get nice, juicy stories from gigs. And you guys who are watching this now, who then start gigging this year, can then come on next year and tell us all about your juicy stories.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, guys. Yeah, enjoy it. See you next time.
See you next week. Bye. Bye.